The Tragedy at Marsdon Manor. Written by Agatha Christie. Narrated by Peter Finney. The Tragedy at Marsdon Manor. I had been called away from town for a few days, and on my return found Poirot in the act of strapping up his small valise. "A la bonne heure, Hastings. I feared you would not have returned in time to accompany me." "You are called away on a case, then?" "Yes, though I am bound to admit that, on the face of it, the affair does not seem promising. The Northern Union Insurance Company have asked me to investigate the death of a Mr. Maltravers, who a few weeks ago insured his life with them for the large sum of £50,000. "Yes?" I said, much interested. "There was, of course, the usual suicidal clause in the policy. In the event of his committing suicide within a year, the premiums would be forfeited. Mr. Maltravers was duly examined by the company's own doctor, and although he was a man slightly past the prime of life, was passed as being in quite sound health. However, on Wednesday last, the day before yesterday, the body of Mr. Maltravers was found in the grounds of his house in Essex, Marsdon Manor, and the cause of his death is described as some kind of internal hemorrhage. That in itself would be nothing remarkable, but sinister rumors as to Mr. Maltravers' financial position have been in the air of late, and the Northern Union have ascertained beyond any possible doubt that the deceased gentleman stood upon the verge of bankruptcy. Now that alters matters considerably. Maltravers had a beautiful young wife, and it is suggested that he got together all the ready money he could for the purpose of paying the premiums on a life insurance for his wife's benefit and then committed suicide. Such a thing is not uncommon. In any case, my friend Alfred Wright, who is a director of the Northern Union, has asked me to investigate the facts of the case, but, as I told him, I am not very hopeful of success. If the cause of death had been heart failure, I should have been more sanguine. Heart failure may always be translated as the inability of the local GP to discover what his patients really die of, but a hemorrhage seems fairly definite. Still, we can make but some necessary inquiries. 5 minutes to pack your bag, Hastings, and we will take a taxi to Liverpool Street. About an hour later, we alighted from a Great Eastern train at the little station of Marsdon Lee. Inquiries at the station yielded the information that Marsdon Manor was about a mile distant. Poirot decided to walk, and we betook ourselves along the main street. "What is our plan of campaign?" I asked. "First, I will call upon the doctor. I have ascertained that there is only one doctor in Marsdon Lee, Dr. Ralph Bernard. Ah, here we are at his house." The house in question was a kind of superior cottage, standing back a little from the road. A brass plate on the gate bore the doctor's name. We passed up the path and rang the bell. We proved to be fortunate in our call. It was the doctor's consulting hour, and for the moment there were no patients waiting for him. Dr. Bernard was an elderly man, high-shouldered and stooping, with a pleasant vagueness of manner. Poirot introduced himself and explained the purpose of our visit, adding that insurance companies were bound to investigate fully in a case of this kind. Of course," said Dr. Bernard vaguely. "I suppose, as he was such a rich man, his life was insured for a big sum." "You consider him a rich man, Doctor?" The doctor looked rather surprised. "Was he not? He kept 2 cars, you know, and Marsdon Manor is a pretty big place to keep up, although I believe he bought it very cheap." "I understand that he had had considerable losses of late," said Poirot, watching the doctor narrowly. The latter, however, merely shook his head sadly. "Is that so?" "Indeed. It is fortunate for his wife, then, that there is this life insurance. A very beautiful and charming young creature, but terribly unstrung by this sad catastrophe. A mass of nerves, poor thing. I have tried to spare her all I can, but of course the shock was bound to be considerable." "You had been attending Mr. Maltravers recently." "My dear sir, I never attended him." "What?" "I understand Mr. Maltravers was a Christian Scientist, or something of that kind." "But you examined the body." "Certainly. I was fetched by one of the under gardeners." "And the cause of death was clear?" "Absolutely. There was blood on the lips, but most of the bleeding must have been internal." "Was he still lying where he had been found?" "Yes, the body had not been touched. He was lying at the edge of a small plantation. He had evidently been out shooting rooks. A small rook rifle lay beside him."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?